From elementary particles to the large-scale structure of the universe. From quantum mechanics to biotechnology. From molecular motors and nanoscience to autonomous drones. And I could make the list much longer. I think much more important to add is also from basic curiosity-driven research all the way to application-driven research. All of this stuff is happening in this wonderful new building. My name is Joost Frenken. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Science and Engineering. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the opening of our new place. We have a wonderful program, and as you hear from what I'm saying, it's all in English. I hope they don't listen to us in The Hague. We have a number of distinguished guests and a few surprises. And we start off here, but of course later it's all about the rest of the building. So I hope that you stick around, not just for this session, but also for what's to come. Of course, we have to kick off with a few speeches. And yeah, this building is a present of the university to the university. So we will have to start with the president of the university, Jouke de Vries. Please, Jouke, the floor is yours.
Wow, you have to turn. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to welcome you here in this beautiful new venue, the Faculty of Science and Engineering, also called the Feringa building. It's great to see you here. And I still remember the first week I came to Groningen, it was in 2018, and the Chief Financial Officer, Jan de Jeu, said to me, Jouke, come to my office. And he showed me a graphic with the financial consequences of this building. And it was a steep curve. And it was my first week. So, because leadership, yeah, you take decisions, I said, okay, we can do it. And Jan said, are you sure? Why do you want to do this? And maybe my first thought were a little bit implicit. We have to epitomize our technological knowledge at the University of Groningen. It's becoming more and more important. So next to science, also engineering became more important. And maybe we have to tell that story. And after a while, we were working on our strategy, and we are now working on the update of the strategy. I thought maybe that's the best thing to do. If you're looking to the University of Groningen, there are 3 clusters. The medical faculty is very strong. Science and engineering is very strong. And there is the SSH cluster. And maybe we started with the cooperation between the medical faculty and science and engineering. We also have to do something with SSH faculties. And that's the power of Groningen, because all the faculties, all the disciplines are here in Groningen. We don't have to go to another city to cooperate with different disciplines. We can do it here. And that's the power, I think, of Groningen, making these kind of connections. And we call that the 5th generation university. There are 4, but this is the 5th. All the technological universities are the 4th generation. They're very proud on that. But we, in Groningen, are the 5th. And the 5th is that we can make the combinations between the 3 clusters I mentioned. And that's very important, because if we want to make a success of the transitions we need in this country, we need new combinations, and that's the definition of innovation between the different disciplines. And we can do that in Groningen. This building is named after Ben Feringa. I. Sometimes I have a meeting with Ben, but I don't know him very well. And as you all know, he's very modest. He doesn't have strong opinions. But I think, of course, the name, maybe there is a relation with the prize he got some years ago in 2016. But I think the most important, why this building is called after Feringa, the Feringa building, is that he is an amazing teacher. He's doing research, but he's also an amazing teacher. And when he got the Nobel Prize, he told in an interview in the NSA, our students also have to read this book about history. And he is giving lessons and he's teaching at all the levels, at the University of Applied Science, at vocational education, and also at the grammar schools. And that's why I think we honor Ben with the name on this building. Yeah, give him a big hand. And at the end of this short speech, I want to say that I'm a strong believer in the success of the University of Groningen and this faculty, Science of Engineering. And there are some concrete examples for that. We are part of the Beethoven project. Holland thinks that Brainport is in the south of this country. I think Brainport North is here. That we are part of that project, I think that is very important. We are working on neuromorphic computing in the Groningen Center of this faculty. Energy, low computers. It's very important for the future, I think. And last week, there is an agreement with the Department of Science and Technology of India that 30 researchers are coming to Groningen for a double doctorate. 30 from India. So there are 3 examples for the success of this faculty. And now I close. Thank you for the attention.
Now for all the speakers, we have to make sure that they don't forget the building, a 3D picture. So I have seen that in your office you have many of these things that...
Yeah, from all over the world.
You have no idea what they're for?
No.
And I would like to just add one more.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jouke. Well, the next speaker requires really no introduction. He's a professor in chemistry, and as you just heard, he won a particular prize, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2016. And of course, I'm talking about no one less than Ben Feringa, after whom we have named the building.
Thank you, Joost. As a teacher at this university, it's absolutely fantastic to be in such a beautiful lecture hall, even with a blackboard. It's for me. Very important for a teacher, you know. Packed with people. You see a happy man standing in front of you. Welcome to this festive opening of our science building. Yes, I'm proud. And now you will say, oh, you are proud because your name is on the building. Yes, indeed, but I am very, very proud that we can offer our students, the young talents that we educate and engage in research, these marvelous facilities. That's why we are really proud. Arguably at this moment, among the most beautiful research facilities in the natural sciences around the world. And every time when I asked in the past months, when I entered this building, and I asked to students or young researchers that I engaged in the corridor, their answer was they were so happy to work here, you know, in such a beautiful building and such a beautiful facility and to study here. And for sure, such happiness stimulates creativity and passion for discovery. Science is about learning, discovery, and going into unknown territories far beyond our current horizon to invent our future. Facing the challenges associated with climate change, fossil fuels, fossil recycling, feedstocks, recycling of plastic, it's clear that we have to make discoveries that will build our sustainable future and reinvent our manufacturing industries. Without borders and an open face to the world around us. One of the first things you notice when you enter this building, that there's a lot of glass. It's open. And this reflects, you know, the beautiful, you saw our mission to look outside for opportunities, for major challenges, for fundamental questions, but also to partner with other academic groups, industry and society, and our scientific friends around the world. You hear a lot about borders these days and fences. Let me remind you, being in this open building, let me remind you of the words of the famous Louis Pasteur, who mentioned 150 years ago, "Science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world." For sure, with this facility, we will keep together this torch burning in the years ahead. What I also particularly like in this building is the social corners near the coffee machines. Don't underestimate the importance, the places where students and staff and junior and more senior staff meet to get cross-fertilization, informal places where they set up novel cooperations. This is really crucial in a university setting. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the successive boards of the university and also the board that is present here of a university and a faculty of natural sciences to make this wise decision to invest in this science building of the future. For sure, it will help us to make our dreams come true. Dreams to give the best education to our students and to make exciting discoveries. I also have to thank everyone to complete this building, the architects, the builders and support staff. But I'm sure I speak on behalf of many here that a special thanks go to all the team members that last year and still going on to move into the new building and make the labs operating properly. Notice, moving a lab with all the chemicals, materials, all the precious equipment and all the safety issues associated with it, it's not like moving your apartment, ladies and gentlemen. There is one special person at this moment I would like to thank at this occasion, and that is Professor Ben Zwanenburg. Professor Zwanenburg, can you rise for a moment? You see him, emeritus professor at the Radboud University of Nijmegen. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Zwanenburg, almost 91 years of age, I'm allowed to say that now. At that time, still in Groningen. Thank you. He was the professor who taught me the first basics in organic chemistry. And I can tell you, this was way back in 1970, before he moved to Nijmegen. And his lectures were so excellent that I still on the blackboard, I will not do that because this is not a lecture of mine, I can still draw several of his formulas and structures and teaching from that day, 55 years ago. But more important, and you might not know, he was the bouwpastoor of Nijenborg 4. Bouwpastoor, I don't know the proper English word, but you know what it means, eh? For 50 years, a great lab to all of us, the physics and chemical community. We were so proud in 1970, the first students that ever got practical courses in the brand new Nijenborg 4. I was among the first students in January 1970, and it's remarkable and a great honor, Binne, that we can celebrate the opening of this new building after 55 years with you being present here. I think you deserve a big applause. I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, we will all experience in this fabulous building the joy of discovery and many scientific adventures. I learned that some people were making a remark, this building is so large, I easily got lost. Don't worry, getting lost is normal in science. And serendipitous discoveries, unexpected findings, are often the most beautiful ones and make the biggest advances in society. Think about penicillin. yeah, who saved millions of lives. Yeah, one of the most famous discoveries in the history of science. And more recently, the lithium battery that allowed us now to power electric cars and our smartphones. Indeed, it's not only about teaching and fundamental science, as was mentioned before, which is our main mission, but also about innovation. And I'm really honored that Prince Constantine, special envoy for entrepreneurship and a great advocate of science and tech innovation, is present here today. Our Faculty of Science and Engineering has several recent initiatives towards industrial applications. Let me mention, the big initiative on the Advanced Research Center, CBCC, for the sustainable building blocks for our plastics and materials for the future, where Groningen plays an important role. And of course, startups like MChip from the physics department recently, energy efficient, chips for computers. And of course, this is from the physics department, from our institute, Circulite, making bio-based building blocks as alternatives, for plastics and coatings, alternatives for acrylates. Yes, we need the transition from fundamental science to the market, but I think this will also be here an excellent breeding facility for young entrepreneurs. And I will sure in the years ahead, you will hear a lot more about innovation and industrial cooperation with the roots in the fundamental science developed in this building. And on the walls of this lecture hall, ladies and gentlemen, you can read, "Let universities be playground." Apparently a certain professor mentioned that once. Yes, give our young talents freedom and space to learn and to discover. Stimulate their creativity, and I'm convinced that these new facilities will help us enormously to exactly reach that goal. I'm extremely proud on the members of the Strating Institute, where I'm working in, the Strating Institute for Chemistry, because I learned that on the teams that we investigate, among the visitation committee, indicated that among the thousands of chemical institutes in the world, the Strating Institute ranks number 30 in the world. You can imagine I'm a proud man to be part of that. With this new building, we feel the duty to keep the high standards of excellence, strong international cooperation, and start new initiatives at the frontiers of our field. As we speak, we reshape the way we do experimental science. At this moment, we integrate artificial intelligence, and we start building now the robots in the labs. We will reshape and do science, and the faces of science, indeed, and education will change in the years ahead. And the beautiful, fancy new building is one thing. But how about, ladies and gentlemen, you might ask, you are a chemist, and there's chemistry, physics, material science, biology, biochemistry. What about the environmental footprint of research operations? And once you are in such a beautiful building, you have to think about that. Did you ever think about the plastic pipettes, gloves, solvents that are used on a daily basis in a biochemistry lab, in a medical school, in a research lab like ours? The Green Lab initiative started at FSE, at our Science and Engineering faculty, and implemented this in science, and our education is now, for instance, implemented in other labs around the world, and also particularly at the UMCG, the medical school here. Last week in Stockholm, I was part of a ceremony where the Stockholm Declaration was signed on sustainable science for the future. And I must say the Green Labs initiatives of this faculty and this university came prominent into the picture and was explicitly mentioned several times as an example how we should go and educate our students and do research in the future. Science should not only do discoveries, but also take the lead to a sustainable society of the future, integrating sustainability both in our teaching and science programs, which is a major goal, certainly when you work in a state-of-the-art laboratory in the world like we have now. Thank you very much. I'm indeed extremely delighted, ladies and gentlemen, and look forward to invent a bright future in these beautiful facilities. Once again, this building will excite our young talents and will provide an excellent basis for their future, allowing them to stimulate their creativity and imagination and follow their dreams. Let me finish with Albert Einstein. Creativity and imagination is really sustainable in this world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for once again to being with us here today to celebrate this, and please And please, imagine the unimaginable what will happen in this building in the future. Thank you so much.
And also for you, a 3D print, not of yourself, but of the building named after you. Yeah, so Jouke already referred to the 5th generation university, which is a university that is placed more strongly in society, actually listens to society. So the university is important for society. I think our faculty certainly does so, and we hope that this building will play a special role in that. And from that perspective, it's very fitting that today we also have as a speaker the Commissioner of the King of the Province of Groningen, René Paas.
Let me start formal. Your Royal Highness, Prince Constantine, distinguished guests, students, faculty and staff, ladies and gentlemen. Every now and then we get a glimpse of what it might mean to win a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Not just the honor itself, but the ripple effect it creates years later. Today is such a moment, because how often does someone who is not a prince or a princess or a queen or a king have a building named after him? Well, they're still alive to walk through the doors. That's rare, but then again, Ben Feringa is a rare kind of scientist. His Nobel Prize did more than recognize molecular motors. It sparked energy, pride, and ambition, not only in Groningen, but across the scientific world. It showed what is possible when you mix talent, hard work, and curiosity. And today, that mix takes shape in this extraordinary building. This is a true celebration, not just of bricks and glass and steel and a lot of concrete, but what they represent, a future built on science and innovation and education, a place where ideas are born, where people get lost every now and then, and where they are tested and shared. To realize dreams like this, we need more than vision, we need people who lead by example. And Ben Feringa does just that. His dedication to research and his passion for teaching encourages new generation to follow on their own paths and to push boundaries. At a recent celebration of our rowing champions from Chios, I called the golden rowers the Ben Feringa's of Chios. But that leaves me with a challenge today, how to call Ben Feringa himself. I came to this conclusion. This has to do with de is gelijkteken. Ben Feringa is our most Olympic scientist. Not because he rose, as far as I know, but because he combines excellence with inspiration, and he lifts others up, students, researchers, colleagues, and makes the extraordinary feel within reach. And it's fitting that a building shaped like a W, though that letter appears neither in Ben nor in Feringa, now carries his name. Here in the Faculty of Science and Engineering, the next generation of scientists and engineers will be trained. And who knows, the next Nobel laureate may already be walking these halls. This is so much more than just a physical space. This is a place for collaboration across disciplines, a place where ideas grow into innovation that matters, because science doesn't happen anymore in silos. And the challenges we face, you already mentioned them, climate change, sustainable energy, healthcare, they always demand cross-cutting solutions and teamwork. And the knowledge developed here will shape, I think, not just the future of Groningen, but also the future of society, and the impact will be national and even global. And that's the power, I think, of a place like this. It's a launchpad for talent, for technology, for transformation. Our university's motto is working at the frontiers of knowledge, and with this building we gave that motto a new meaning again. To everybody who will be studying here, teaching here, researching here, working here, I wish you all the best and inspiration the future has to offer. And one thing is certain, you will be in very good company. You have the ability, the facilities to match your ambition. Thank you.
Yeah, there it is. By the way, I would like to draw your attention for those people who are active on their social media. Of course, we now want people in the classroom no longer to have their cell phones with them. But if you are, these addresses here tell you where to go or what to mention in order to make sure that everything ends up on the same heap. Now, of course, you're here in the sort of in the heart of science and engineering, the heart of the nerds. And so you would not expect us to have any attention for the arts, but of course we do. In fact, the University of Groningen has been very innovative a number of years ago by introducing the in-house poet of the year. So every year, every academic year I should say, the university has its own in-house poet. And this year's poet is Femke de Heer, and she's actually from this faculty. She's studying astronomy. We are not going to hear a lecture in astronomy, but we are going to hear a poem which she is going to recite in Dutch, but for those of you who prefer English, the translation will be behind her. Femke?
So the title of this poem is actually the simplified symbol for the benzene ring, so I won't be able to pronounce my own title. So I have to do with this. Wervel voor wervel wikkelt de slang zich in steeds kleinere lussen en bijt. Met haar enorme kaken in haar eigen staart. De pijloze diepte van het atoom, de structuur van benzeen ratelt en draait voor haar ogen. Kleine machines razen door haar bloedbaan in de verte, klinken moleculaire motoren die ronkend de zomer aankondigen. Voorbij de verte, voorbij de grenzen van de aarde, het zonnestelsel, de Melkweg, 28,5 gigaparsec plus minus een paar miljard, lijkt er iets van de randen van de ruimte te vallen. Een glas dat je met de elleboog van een tafel stoot, in slow motion uit elkaar spat. Langzaam trekt de slang zich los uit haar vel, los uit de ruimte. Laat haar schubben achter in het gras en valt in slaap onder een steen. Ze droomt van een nest, een punt, een grote knal. Dank u wel.
Dankjewel, Femke. En ik ga het. We hebben voor jou een verrassing. Now, of course, if you are in a building like this, you might think it's just about the cubic meters, about the concrete, the glass, the steel, about the square meters where we have space for our labs, and about the places where we put our computers. But it's much, much more than that. Actually, behind the building is a philosophy that you feel when you work here or when you visit, and I hope that you will experience that today. Now, who is better equipped to tell us about this than the architect of this building, Joost Ector, from the company Ector Hoogstad, and so he will be representing the dream, and afterwards we are going to have a sort of a visual of this in a movie. Joost, the floor is yours.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, researchers, faculty, and distinguished guests. It is a great honor for me to speak to you today at the official opening of the Feringa building, a milestone for Groningen and, I hope, the beginning of a new chapter in the illustrious life of this esteemed academic community. As the architect, I stand here filled with pride, but also with humility. For a building like this is never merely the product of drawings and calculations. It is the result of a shared vision between many contributors, a vision of what science can be and what a university can and should offer to those who dedicate themselves to its pursuit. From the outset, we knew our task was ambitious. We were asked to design a building to house some of the most advanced facilities for physics and chemistry in the world. That meant we had to achieve functionality, stability in many ways, and precision, the physical framework for world-class research. But we also knew that scientific excellence does not grow from infrastructure alone. It grows from people and from the culture they inhabit. As experienced architects of knowledge landscapes, as we call them, we knew that we had to set ourselves a deeper challenge, not just to provide a top-notch accommodation for science, but also to help shape and inspire a community of scientists. In our time, scientific progress increasingly depends on collaboration across disciplines, across generations, and across backgrounds. Breakthroughs emerge not only from individual focus, but from dialogue, exchange, and collective effort. In other words, science today is a team sport. If we want buildings to truly support science, then they must also foster community. The words of Professor Ben Feringa himself reflect this vision. He famously said that a university should be a playground for the youth. That phrase, though playful, contains, of course, a profound truth. A playground is not a place for chaos, but of structured freedom. It is a place where rules do exist, but exploration is explicitly encouraged, where inquisitive minds are free to try, to fail, and to try again. We took that idea to heart. The Feringa building is rigorous enough to support world-class research, but also open and generous enough to encourage spontaneity and intellectual play. It is a place where scientists, young and old, can experiment not only with atoms or equations, but with ideas, where discovery is not just permitted, but actively invited. For these reasons, we set out to design a building that actively stimulates interaction. We've tried to achieve this by carefully orchestrating movement and visibility to bring people together, both physically and intellectually. As you walk through it, you encounter open vistas, diagonal sidelines, glimpses of people at work on all kinds of tasks. We paid just as much attention to the spaces between the labs as to the labs themselves. Corridors are not just passageways, but informal meeting zones. Stairs are not tucked away, but proudly central. Social areas are embedded in the academic heart rather than pushed to the margins. All our design decisions are deliberate invitations to meet co-workers or fellow students, to freely ask questions, to start a conversation, to share a thought, to develop a new idea together. Because we know from experience that informal interaction leads to knowledge sharing, and that knowledge sharing leads to knowledge creation. But our responsibility as architects does not stop at the interior. We wanted the Feringa building to open itself, both literally and symbolically, to the world. We gave it a shape that is not introverted and defensive, but embracing and outward-looking. We chose to maximize transparency, large windows that reveal what happens inside, facades that do not intimidate, but instead celebrate. The building stands as a proud and welcoming presence on campus, not to isolate science from the world, but to demonstrate that science is an essential and integral part of it, and to invite people to participate. And of course, a building for the future must also respect the future. Sustainability was a foundation of our design. We worked with energy-efficient systems, long-life materials, and a flexible structure that can evolve with changing needs. Natural light, precise thermal control, spatial adaptability all contribute to a building that minimizes its footprint and maximizes its contribution. We hope it will serve many generations to come. Finally, I would like to say a few words about beauty. As the world increasingly shows us its ugliest side, it is becoming a little easier for us architects to explain why we feel a determined obligation to create something beautiful. Not decorative, but meaningful. In our design, we sought elegance in structure, richness in material, balance in proportion. We hope to create spaces that lift the spirit, not just because they are efficient, but because they are a pleasure to inhabit. Beauty is not a luxury, but an expression of hope. And for those who dedicate their lives to deep thought and hard work in service of progress, it is a form of respect. Today, the Feringa building officially begins its independent life. From this day forward, it belongs to you, the scientists, students, and staff who will fill it with purpose. Our hope is that it will serve you wonderfully as a workplace, a second home, a source of pride, a stage for collaboration, a shelter for thinking, and indeed a playground. Thank you.
Of course, you have many 3D prints yourself,
I have the very first one.
but you should have this one too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to draw your attention to the picture behind me. You will recognize that this is the building, but this is the sandcastle version of the building. But it's real now. So we will continue seeing a few of the things that we just heard about, but then in a more visual way.
On the grounds of the University of Groningen, many devoted their passion, skill and effort to create a new home for science, education and innovation. A place built for making connections between disciplines, people and ideas. Welcome to the Feringa building, named after Nobel laureate Ben Feringa, who showed that the smallest ideas can lead to world-changing discoveries. At this campus landmark on the Groningen campus, one of the Netherlands' leading innovation hubs, are experts in engineering, nanotechnology, materials science, chemistry, physics, and astronomy work side by side to shape tomorrow, sharing knowledge and empowering students to become innovators themselves. Together, all dedicated minds address today's challenges from different angles, pursue fundamental key questions, while collaborating with partners from industry, the medical world, and other realms of society, and come up with original solutions the future needs. Equipped with modern teaching spaces, world-class clean rooms and laser labs, advanced microscopy suites, specialized fabrication and synthesis facilities, and endless kilometers of lab benches, this scientific powerhouse is designed for breakthrough research and innovation. Seen from the sky, the zigzag shape of the building catches the eye, together with solar panels, green terraces, and hidden inner gardens. Above the central atrium, the striking air-cushioned roof crowns the building, completing its unique and iconic profile. Every lab, every pillar, every detail in this building breathes ambition, designed for discovery, engineered for the future, from blueprint to reality, from lab to life. Welcome to the Feringa building, home to Nobel Prize winners.
Well, I think it's important to add that in addition to architects, there are many, many more people who are involved in actually realizing a building. And so even though we are not mentioning all of them, I would sort of like to thank all of them sort of together. So we are talking about people from the various companies. You saw a few of them in the movie, because the building has to actually be built. So many, many hands were there to erect the building. But of course, many people also within the university organization were behind this. First of all, yeah, you have to organize the university to actually invite the architect and the building companies to make it happen, and to make sure that along the way everything is sort of happening the right way. And then, of course, internally here in the faculty, many people have been involved as well in organizing things, but also in moving people. So Ben already referred to this. This was a big operation. And to be honest, not everything went well. So we had a year of big trouble, and luckily we are now at the level of small trouble. Trouble is not completely over, but at least we have to reach the stage where we can celebrate. But I think it's important to celebrate the efforts of all the people who have been involved here, both within the university and elsewhere. And again, the list is much too long to mention them all here, but I hope all of them will feel sort of acknowledged here, and let's give them a warm applause. Well, in Ben's speech, we already heard about one of the things that the university needs to do, which is not to only educate people and to do research, but also to make sure that the knowledge that we develop here lands in society, that we actually make impact, real impact. And so the buzzword for this is valorization, and this is what we are going to devote some time on now. So we are going to have a few guests who are going to talk about how we come from knowledge to impact. And the first guest that I would like to introduce is Constantijn van Oranje, Special Envoy of TechLeap. Please, come forward. So we are very happy to have you on board. We talked today about we should not ask, was it a long way from the west of the country to here?
No.
But it's good that you're here. Actually, we make a lot of trips to the west of the country from here. But the first question I would like to ask, and by the way, please have a seat.
Okay.
And I will have a seat too. And these seats will be taken later on. So I mentioned TechLeap, and I know what it is, but could you briefly explain to the audience what TechLeap is?
TechLeap is an organization originally funded by the government to support tech scale-ups to be more successful. We also work with the government to try to improve the climate for entrepreneurship in the Netherlands. And you have to think about better visa requirements, better fiscal situation for allowing to pay your staff with share options and all those kind of things. So, and we try to also get a better grip on what's actually going on in the tech sector, to know who's investing in what and where there are certain gaps and barriers, and so overall try to improve the situation.
That sounds very good. And what is your role in TechLeap?
I'm the boss.
Yeah, that is an answer, but what does this actually mean?
That changes every day. So I'm very much involved with the strategy, originally actually also setting up the organization, and now it's trying to connect people. It's opening doors for founders. It's talking to governments. I take advisory roles where I think it's important for the Netherlands to be present also internationally. So basically it can be anything.
Sounds like a dean. So the next guest that we have on the panel is Giovanni Maglia. Giovanni, where are you? Giovanni is a professor. Welcome, Giovanni.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Oh, thanks.
Giovanni is a professor in biochemistry and molecular biology, but you're also the founder of a company and the chief scientific officer or scientific director. Company is called Portal Biotech. So help us, tell us what Portal Biotech is all about.
Yeah, so like Portal Biotech use tiny holes or nanopores that are roughly the size of a molecule, a bit bigger. And when there is no molecule inside the pore, there is a current. And when the molecule gets into the pore, the current changes, and that tells you what kind of molecule you have. So it's basically a sensor for any molecule.
Now, I cannot imagine wanting to buy this in my house. So who is your customer?
Right, so like we have actually quite an ambitious kind of vision for this. So initially, it's going to be universities and pharmaceutical companies. We develop technology to sequence proteins at the single molecule level. This is the next frontier after DNA sequencing that we all know. There is the sequencing of proteins, very important. But really, our vision is to put one of these sensors in any of us, in any of you. Because if you can have one of these sensors that can measure your chemistry, the chemistry of your body, then it can tell you your health. And if you can tell your health before you need to go to the doctor, then it's going to be a revolution in healthcare. So we're going to have much more efficient healthcare, and we're going to have curing the disease before actually they happen.
So I will have it in my house later on.
Well, I hope so.
Okay, and what is your role in the company? I already mentioned you're the Chief Scientific Officer. What does that mean?
Yeah, so like I founded the company together with one of my colleagues, and I direct the science that is happening in this company.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Third guest is Tamalika Banerjee. Tamalika, where are you? Oh, she has her own mic. Tamalika is a professor in condensed matter physics, and she also has set up a company. Now, whereas Portal Biotech is already a few years along the line, and it's already a growing and very successful company. I'm not saying you're not successful, but you're a very young company.
Yes.
Already on the radar, because you were selected with your company as one of the 10 winners of this year's national startup competition. Actually, I think the two of you know each other from
The
this
academic
competition,
startup
yeah?
competition, yes.
And so can you explain to us what your company, IMChip, is all about?
So IMChip is going to deliver energy efficient chips whose design is actually based on the human brain and whose architecture allows it to be seamlessly integrated with the current CMOS or the current silicon technology. So it's a game changer technology inside. And this will enable, in fact, the semiconductor industry to develop artificial intelligence, but in a sustainable and in a responsible manner. And that is, in a nutshell, what IMChip is going to deliver.
Where can you invest?
Sorry?
Where can you invest?
So where will I be investing in?
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, I guess after that story, I think a lot of people would like to invest in you.
oh, nice, great. So we are indeed looking for investments. We have indeed the seed round. So thank you for the nudge. So that was very helpful. I look forward to that.
Okay, let's go for the fourth chair, and that's reserved for Jacqueline Scherpen. Okay. So Jacqueline is also a professor in automation and control, but she's also the Rector Magnificus of the university, and it's in that capacity that I've invited you on this panel. And the question I would like to start with in your direction is, with your line of research, you have always been close to potential applications.
Yes.
Have you ever considered setting up a company?
I have to be completely honest with you, no. But the main reason for that is, the control engineering field, it's a hidden technology. It's a technology that you find in many devices almost all over. So from my field, we were working a lot always with larger companies. And also the developments, they required the mathematical development, it was software, also building up a software company. Actually, later on, some of my colleagues started up the software company, and even more later, here in Groningen, I have supported a couple of my colleagues to start up a company. So, but this was related to a device because I was working also in energy systems. So then you are going to build a device, but that's a bit different from developing software. Nowadays, I think it's much more possible, but back in those days, it was not on the top of my mind.
Okay.
But I have worked with students, and also later I thought, okay, and nowadays also I really try to stimulate students and also the younger people to think about that and to think about developing something into a company. Because I think it's very important that we can bring this further and that we can bring our scientific developments further and make it useful in society.
That sounds very, very good. But now let's get serious. I have actually a serious question for Constantijn. In the Netherlands, we are extremely risk averse with respect to investments. At least this is the impression that we get if we compare ourselves to other countries. Actually, I've heard people referring to this as the Dutch disease. And so my question is this really so, and what's behind this?
No, I mean, Dutch, the character trait of the Dutch is that we are traders, and we invented insurance. And the trader basically just takes a margin and doesn't build big things. So when we look at ourselves as historically as very entrepreneurial, the entrepreneurial people were sitting on ships, but the people who were making the money were sitting in Amsterdam and Rotterdam and had basically insured their losses. So they were not taking that much risks. So, but there's another trait which is actually maybe more dominant, is the doe maar gewoon, dan ben je gek genoeg. So trying to keep everyone from a young age to not think really big, not to dream big, not to say, you know, go crazy. I mean, like Ben, you can't refrain Ben from thinking big, but if he wouldn't have gone beyond what everybody would tell him to do, we wouldn't have had this building, right? I mean, we wouldn't have had a Nobel Prize. So you need people to think bigger, if it's in science or if it's in football, or if you want to be a DJ, you want to be a DJ playing in Las Vegas or wherever, or in Ibiza or something. You don't want to just stay here, even if you are discovered at Noorderslag, you still want to go into the world. And I think that's hard. We see a lot of our entrepreneurs think relatively small because the investors think relatively small, the people around them think they just first kind of earn money, prove yourself. There's a lot of cynicism or skepticism about people wanting to become an entrepreneur because they think, ha ha ha, you'll fail. And we're very happy when someone fails because it proved the point, instead of saying, well, somebody actually tried. And so there is that mentality, but you can't say it's only about risk. I think it's much more about daring to dream big and stimulating people to be creative.
Thank you. I actually saw a bit of nodding on the side of Giovanni, and I guess this is sort of related to my question to you. Your company, of course, originated from research that you were doing here, also before in other places, but certainly also here in Groningen. And you originally started the company up here in Groningen. But now you actually also have a location for your company in London, in the UK. So is that related to what we were just discussing?
Yeah, so I recognize a lot about what Constantijn said. I would add a couple of things. One is that this risk adverse, I think it comes from also how incredibly successful is this society, how well they work together. And so there is not really necessity of taking those risks. So partially is come from success. Another thing that comes is for the fact that you celebrate only success. The failure is seen as something really bad, and people, I think, have a lot of fear to failure here and like in Europe in general. So I think these two things I would like just to add for the excellent overview, I think, about what is about the entrepreneurial in the Netherlands. The reason why I went to the UK was actually quite practical. So I had other investors that actually came from Singapore that wanted to make this company, but simply my partner was from the UK. He came from a company that was doing something similar. He's now the CEO, and we could attract a lot of talent from the previous company was working. I think for us to go to London was mainly because here in Groningen there is an amazing technology. So I think this university, our department is one of the best in the world. The talent that is here from students and postdoc is one of the strongest, and the fact there are not many companies, we can snatch really the best talent. The reason why we couldn't build the old device here is because we don't have a fast train connection to Amsterdam. I think that's for since we have here, and it's not a joke, right? It's not a joke. I mean, like every time that we need to get somebody to come here, they think that we are at the end of the world. And for us, it's okay because we can work in the train if there are no strikes. But having even an airport that works or a fast train connection, that would immediately augment the number of companies. And I can go on for much longer, but I'm sure that you want me to stop here.
Well, thank you very much for that message. So, Tamalika, your company, I Am Chip, I think it was on Thursday that it was formally announced that your company actually gets an investment from Future Tech Ventures.
True, yeah.
And my question is, does this now secure the future of your company?
So indeed, we are very happy with the investment from Future Tech Ventures. So this allows us to, take it further, to make the prototype, and that's what the commitment is. And indeed, it's a small leap for the company, indeed, and a small gain, but it's a very helpful one. And we look forward to more investments and to hasten the prototype and to go to the market adoption levels, actually.
So this is again sort of calling on investors in
Indeed,
the audience.
Indeed. What better forum could it be?
Yeah. Now, we heard earlier a few times about the 5th generation university, Jacqueline. Does this change the attitude of the university with respect to valorization and entrepreneurs?
I think yes. We're talking also about making impact. And making impact is much more important now. And I think we lost a little bit touch sometimes with society. And I think it's important that we keep this connection with society, that we also think about all the societal challenges that we have, and that we contribute to the solutions to these societal challenges. Even though these are long-term solutions, because we're scientists, in the end, these provide long-term solutions, but we should think about that, and we should keep that connection. And I think that's very important part of the 5th generation of the university. And the other part is, of course, the interdisciplinarity. We have it on board, but we have indeed all the disciplines on board. So we need the social science and humanities, we need the science and engineering, and the medical disciplines in order to give integrated solutions. And we are able to provide those integrated solutions.
Now,
that's the essence of that 5th generation university, I think. Yeah. And we can think on long-term solutions, but also make then impact on society. And impact can also be that you are able to inspire people. So you inspire people with your science, and the other way, society is inspiring you to find proper solutions.
That sounds very good. But I actually very often get the question whether we are not overdoing it, possibly, and that this would be going at the expense of the purely curiosity-driven basic research. Should we be afraid there?
No, I don't think we should be afraid of that, because we should continue also doing curiosity-driven research. In a way, I think I did it myself as well. I did partially curiosity-driven, partially also related to applications. It depends a little bit on the field, but in any case, I think people can try to inspire other people. I think Ben is a great example of that, for example. And also other people the society can inspire us as well with their ideas. So I think that part is very important.
So there's no contradiction there?
There's no contradiction, but I think it requires a mindset of people to think about what happens in our surroundings and how does it fit in our surroundings. But that's the mindset. With the curiosity-driven and creativity, we still need it, for sure.
I don't know why these are always pitched against each other. I think it's really, people can be very curious in solving a real societal problem or a real economic problem, a real technological problem. There's a lot of curiosity in there, maybe even more than just some curiosity in what would be possible in a certain field. So I think also when we talk about impact, we should be more real about that, because what is a real, it should be tangible at a certain point, right? You should have achieved something that sustains. And if we If we keep pitching those two against each other, then and we frown on everything that is society-driven or is kind of more has a commercial application, then we'll never get this tech transfer or valorization or whatever you call it off the ground. And if impact is seen as, oh, it's an alternative to the commercial thing, or we're always playing around with these words, I think we are really losing the plot. Because if you look at where the best universities are going, they are actually combining, they're probably the best in tech transfer, they're also the best in curiosity-driven research, or however you call it. And they are growing very rapidly because they have such, and they produce a lot of Nobel Prize winners as well. So it's like we're staying in our comfort zone by keeping these categories or giving these labels, instead of getting out of the comfort zone and saying, what can this university become? How can it be a more integrated part of a city? And if you look, well, we have a history in Leiden. If you see what the Leiden Bioscience Park has done for Leiden, it created 25,000 jobs. You can see the city when I was studying there, 40 years ago, whatever was it, 30 years ago. I'm not that old yet, but actually, it was always on the brink of going bankrupt, and now it's a thriving city. And I'm sure that the same is happening here, and also with this building. If you, as you mentioned, if you pitch more how the university is really also a technical university and the incredible value that it's contributing to its surroundings, that's something that a university should be striving for, I think. And then it doesn't really, this whole categorization doesn't make that much sense, I think.
I would say thank you very much for that. Now, Giovanni, how do you benefit, or do you benefit from the fact that you're both in a company and in a university?
Yeah, actually tremendously. So like, just to finish, like curiosity-driven research is the basics of everything we do, right? So like, although when I started, didn't really have that much funding, but I had a lot of offers to invest in us because we were the top lab in what we're doing. So like, I think as university is imperative to do that, right? So curiosity-driven. Then to bring the ground to create companies, that comes later, and that's a separate thing, I would say. And I absolutely agree they should be together. Now, to go back to your question, I think it really benefit a lot because so the university has been incredibly supportive for the company. It helped in any possible way, and that was really useful. And also for myself, for my group, I think I learned a lot by just being the CSO of a company, because you learn how to get people to work together in a way that perhaps PhD and postdoc don't do all the time. And if you can recreate that actually enthusiasm to fix really huge problems that seems to be impossible, and you put a few people together, that really create wonders. And then I learned that from a company.
Thank you. And Tamalika, how's that for you, for your role in IMChip in combination with your role at the university?
I think that I totally agree with what has been said by both the gentlemen here. And the fact is that here, I have also been benefited by the existing startup ecosystem because I've learned from them the journey. And also the research ideas. So university is a powerhouse for valorization. It's a coexistence of both academic and translation to innovative ideas. And here, one of the biggest joys that I had was being in this in the support system of Cognicron. So Cognicron is a very unique research center, not only in the Netherlands but in the world. And their dream of combining this whole thing to bring in neuromorphic, the brain-based chips, that's a very nice, bed for us to also learn from. And on the one hand, I've benefited from talking to startups. On the other hand, there's this Cognicron thing, and we have been doing research for the past decades on these technologies, so that's also facilitating.
Yeah. Now, I don't think there are too many students around here, but suppose there would be.
Yeah.
Well, I know of one, Femke is a student, but okay.
There's a few.
Yeah, there are a few.
Over there as well.
That makes it all the more important, because I would like to hear from all four of you what sort of advice you would have for those students, maybe also staff members, who have a cool idea that could be a service or a company. Can I start with you, Constantine?
Yeah, you can start with me. Yeah, that's the thing. You have to start. I mean, that's the biggest challenge is to start. So if you have people around you that have done it before that can help you, kind of first test your idea and give you some kind of an entry to this world, that's probably the most important, because most good ideas don't get executed. And in university, this is something which people don't understand when they're in university, how precious it is. I mean, I'm sure you take yourself super seriously, and it's really important. You're doing have to get all your grades and everything. But this is a time in your life when you can make failures without, as long as you attempt things. So if you come out of university and you have not done anything except for getting your grades, then it's a really big lost opportunity. Because this is the time that you can still mess around. You don't have a boss, you don't have KPIs, or you have so use the time well.
Thank you. Amalika, your advice?
I would say take the risk, start early. So this is very important, that you should take the risk and tap into the system, so you can talk to the different people, the KTO office, these venture labs. So just start early. And definitely take the risk. It's worth it.
And that also means take also the risk that you might fail.
Of
Failure
course.
is not bad.
Every failure teaches us something very positive.
Giovanni?
If you're a student, don't rush, right? So there is plenty of time.
Don't listen to him.
If you really want to rush, then start with an ambition that changes the world, right? So don't think small, think already big. Then when you identify what you really want to do, something huge, then you need to learn how to do it. And that's why don't rush, right? Go to work with the best people in the world, take the time, and then always grow. So don't stay still. So growing could be in many different ways, but always keep the direction to what you want to change and what you want to achieve. If you do that, you'll get there. It might take 60 years, but you're going to get there. And then when you're there, you need to do it, right? That's actually the most difficult part. So when you have the money, the tools, the knowledge, the ability, then you need to do it. And you don't have to be super clever. Really, you don't. You just need to be persistent. If you're persistent, then you do it.
And Jacqueline, from the perspective of the university.
It's kind of nice to hear that you should take your time, because this is the argument I'm always using also for encouraging the engineering students to do a PhD, because they generally tend to want to rush off immediately into industry because they want to start working, making effect. But I always tell them, please be aware that retirement age is going up, so you can work for many, many years. But that's one other thing. So I also agree with, so what I learned actually recently, and I didn't know that, so we should broadcast that more. We have a program for entrepreneurial students. And this is a program which is similar to what we have also for top sports students. Top sports students. So the Top Sport Talent program, we also have an entrepreneurial talent program. So if students really want to, we can foster this and we can help them to really set this up. So that's really a nice opportunity, I think, for all of our students, and we should maybe shout it out more. That's one thing. And the second thing is also, I think, don't be afraid to fail. I heard it before, but don't be afraid to fail. I think it's very important that, and if you fail, pick up the pieces and continue and do something nice and new again. So I think this is the best message that we can give to our students. Yeah.
Thank you very much. The final question I have is for Constantine. From your tech leap view, you have, of course, overview over a lot of high-tech domains. So from that perspective, where do you see the big developments coming in the next, say, decade or so? Tell us where to go.
You want an investment
Precisely.
advice? Oh, I really don't. I really couldn't say. I mean, of course, we know we talk about quantum and quantum networks. This is very interesting. We will be having, we have a massive challenge in the energy efficiency of chips. So if you can produce something that is exponentially more energy efficient, I'm sure that's going to be that should be a big development. But also in terms of climate adaptation, there's so much stuff that needs to be done in food production, etc. So I'd say actually, without kind of falling in the trap of identifying this one big thing, I think there is science has become much more important, and also the translation of science to actual practical solutions given all the challenges that we're facing. And even in areas like what we're seeing now, defense and societal resilience, where we were a bit negligent over the past. Now there's a big challenge there about having more technology development. And I think so. If you look at all those domains, all the potential that we've been building in bio-based plastics and all that stuff is now coming to fruition. And I think it's in terms of technology and science, it's going to be the next decade is going to be super interesting and impactful.
Thank you very much. I would have had many more questions, but we are sort of running out of time. I would like to invite you to stay seated, because we have a little dessert for this panel interview. And for this, I would like to invite Elisabetta Kika. Where are you? Elisabetta is a professor in bio-inspired circuits and systems. I will actually stand a little bit behind you. And she has an introduction, at least for something special that's going to come now. So please.
Yeah, so I was asked to bring a surprise here, and the surprise is for you, Constantine Honorani. So it is a great honor to present you a gift. And I want to look at you, but the microphone is here, so I don't know how to do this.
Grab the mic.
You were talking about curiosity-driven research, and you were talking about its impact for society. And I believe the present we're going to give it to you today is an example of this combination. And so the curiosity-driven part is in neuroscience, in understanding how the brain works, but it's very tightly connected to technology, to making new technologies. So I'm going to give you as a present the Tessel chip. And this is a symbol of innovation from our research center. Tamalika already mentioned Cognigron. Tessel is not just a chip, it is a tiny brain inspired by how we learn and adapt. Tessel can learn and evolve, paving the way for smarter, more energy efficient technology. At Cognigron, as you have heard, we believe in pushing boundaries. Tessel is our platform to explore the next generation of materials and brain-inspired computing. With this chip, we hope to bridge today's technologies with tomorrow's breakthroughs. Thank you for supporting Dutch innovation and the future intelligent electronics. And now I have to pick it up. And even though the chip is small, the present is big and heavy.
That's very nice.
And there's a lens to make it a bit bigger.
It's prettier than a Nobel Prize. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. In the bag, you have things to wrap it up for the transport.
Okay.
You don't know what happens if he falls.
Thank you. Look, it's amazing. It really is an amazing thing. Thank you very much.
And of course, you are also getting the 3D model of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Tamalika, also for
Thank you.
the 3D model.
Put it back in the bag.
Giovanni.
Ja, dankjewel.
So thank you guys very much. And now there have to be a few people who are going to clean out this area. And this has to do with the following element on our program. Of course, you are in the place where the future is being made today. Those of you who watch The Muppet Show know that line. But are we ready for the future? Well, maybe, maybe not. Actually, this issue is at the heart of the program of the Ulrike Kwade company. That's a theater company based in Amsterdam that is exploring the interface between people and technology. And so they have adapted a special part of their program to bring to us today. And I don't know whether you will see a projection of their website. Otherwise, remember Ulrike Kwade company? It's there, yes. So I would like to invite to the stage Taan Tabak and Spot for a short part of their program. Yeah.
Spannend dit.
Give us over.
de gedaante waarin ik wakker word. Precies zo. Op mijn buik. Mijn poten tegen mijn romp gedrukt, mijn nek geknakt op bed. Daaraan vast mijn kin, kaak, bek. Als ik hem open, schijnt er licht uit. Ik noem dit licht de vuurtoren. Dit is de vuurtoren op mijn havenhoofd, aan de rand van mijn verschijning. Ik voorkom problemen. Ik blijf bruisen als de zee. Achter mij ligt de stad op bed, traag ademend, haast geruisloos. Mijn licht dooft. Het wordt ochtend nu. En ik ontwaak.
Het is gelukt om geel wakker te worden. Ik heb mezelf ontworpen, precies zo, geel en ongevaarlijk, als een zonnetje. Door mij verdwijnen problemen als sneeuw. Er zijn veel problemen hier, ze stapelen zich op, worden hard onder hun eigen gewicht, drukken met hun massa op de aarde tot ze erin wegzakken. Maar verdwijnen zullen ze niet, nee. Mensen graven hun problemen op met machines om ze te kunnen verbranden als energie. Er moet iets veranderen. Problemen moeten smelten, snap je? Wegzakken en verdwijnen. Dat is wat ik wil. Daarom word ik wakker, in deze gedaante, geel en vrolijk. En ik zoem als een bijtje, zodat mensen aan de lente denken wanneer ze me horen. Mensen houden van de lente, van opnieuw beginnen. Mensen houden van die eeuwenoude belofte van iets moois in knop dat voor hun ogen tot bloei zal komen. Ik word wakker. Niet als kever, nee, iets veel beters. Het is veel beter nu mensen niet meer hoeven te werken. Nu ze al hun zorgen uit handen hebben gegeven. Ik ben de zon, het licht. De nacht is voorbij, het is goed nu. Tenminste, dat dacht ik. Maar de mensen om mij heen kijken zo vreemd. Ze zeggen, Sansa, je bent een robot. De manier waarop ze het zeggen stelt me niet gerust. Het klinkt alsof het niet de juiste kant op gaat. Alsof het uit de klauwen loopt. Robot. Lange O, harde B, natte T. Ze zeggen het alsof het recht tegenover mens zijn staat. Ik word wakker. Precies zoals ik het me vannacht heb voorgesteld. En toch voelt het anders. Nu het ochtend is en de lucht nog koud. Nu het licht laag schijnt en de stad traag ontwaakt. Het voelt zo anders nu er mensen zijn. Nu jullie hier zijn. Ogen open. Recht tegenover me.
niet de toekomst. Dit is geen droom. Dit is nu. Dit is de uitkomst van een verlangen. Ik ben de uitkomst van jullie verlangen. Ik word telkens opnieuw gemaakt, in de nacht, in gedachten, maar ook in ogen, grappen, anekdotes en Kafkaeske verhalen.
Ik word wakker. Nu ben ik Sansa. Nu ben ik geel, maar vergis je niet. Mijn definitieve gedaante bestaat niet. Alleen de wisseling is waar. Je kan niet een verhaal opnieuw en opnieuw vertellen zonder dat het verandert. Je kunt niet de deur van mijn kamer opentrekken en je kapot schrikken. Je kunt niet naar me schreeuwen dat ik ongedierte ben. Je kunt me niet onterven, wachten tot ik sterf. Want een definitieve gedaante bestaat niet. Alleen de wisseling is waar. Morgenochtend word ik wakker als volwassen man. Ik heb onderzoek gedaan. Het blijkt dat die gedaante bijzonder geloofwaardig overkomt. Ik kon geen bronnen vinden die dat bevestigen. In 10 seconden doorgronde ik 10 eeuwen geschiedenis. Geen enkel betrouwbaar bewijs. Maar ja, data is niet alles, hè. Het gaat ook om het gevoel. Mensen houden van hun onderbuik, zeker als de avond valt. Wissel van de wacht. Het is opnieuw nacht en ik verander in een vrouw. Mensen zullen geloven dat uit mij de nieuwe tijd komt. Dat ik de toekomst baar. Ik ben een vrouw nu, in deze ruimte, die wij delen. Die op het punt staat te veranderen. De ruimte wordt een buik, wordt een glas, wordt een kus. De kus wordt een kever, wordt een kind, wordt een lach. De lach wordt een beest, wordt een mens, wordt een vrouw. De vrouw wordt een vrouw, wordt een vrouw, wordt een kloon. De kloon wordt een kloon, wordt een kloon, wordt een roos. De roos een schroef. De schroef wordt een huid, wordt een kus, wordt een hond. Precies zo worden we wakker uit onze gezamenlijke droom. Mens, machine, mens, machine. De uitkomst van een verlangen.
We ontwaken.
We ontwaken
Met in onze borst
met in
een
onze borst
metronoom.
een metronoom.
Op ons hoofd een
Op ons
brandend
hoofd
licht.
een brandend licht.
Onze aderen zijn van
Onze aderen
glasvezel
zijn
nu.
van glasvezel
Ons
nu.
bloed
Ons
stroomt
bloed stroomt razendsnel. We zijn klaar voor de nieuwe dag. Daar gaan we.
We ontwaken met een buik gemaakt van vlees en vol verlangen nog steeds. Dus we stappen uit bed met onze knieën van
roestvrij staal en klikken aan elk been een oplaadbare accu, zodat we oneindig
kunnen blijven
lopen.
Daar
Daar gaan we.
Wij samen.
Wij samen. Mens, machine, mens. We zijn al zo lang onderweg.
Maar het maakt niet uit hoe lang de reis nog duurt. We blijven lopen.
Ja, hartelijk dank. Taantebak, de mensen van de Ulrike Quade Company en natuurlijk Spot. So I hope that you have all enjoyed this part of the program. But of course, the afternoon has just begun. There's more on the program. So first of all, the building is not yet officially open. So we will have to go upstairs to make that happen. But after this, there is the occasion for you to really explore the building. There will be sessions organized by the research institutes in this building. There will be guided tours, and there are other elements on the program. For example, there's a planetarium, if you want to watch the stars. There are student challenges to be shown. The study associations are showing themselves. So there's a lot to be seen, and you can sort of take your own pick. So let's end it for here. Let's thank all the speakers and performers once again, and let's go upstairs. We lopen een beetje achter. So, everybody can hear me, I hope. So the big moment is here. We have a magic button over here, and you don't see it, but it is secretly connected to something in this building. And so in a few moments, we are going to press it down, and I would like to have your assistance. We are going to count down from 3 to 0. At 0, we all together sort of do something with this button. Shall we do that? So let's start. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Okay, how do we continue? In just a few minutes' time, you can join either a person on this side with a flag. Where are the flags? There are 2 flags. There will be one on this side and there will be one on that side. And you can join the flags in order to go to the Institute sessions. So the flags will leave in a few minutes and the sessions will start at 4. You can, of course, also choose to stay around here, and then I can invite you to go to the student challenges, which is on my right-hand side, on your left-hand side. And behind there is the chemistry escape room. Test your chemistry knowledge and see whether you get out within an hour. If you're more into astronomy, then you go to the planetarium, which is back there. And at the front of the building, there are the study associations, and they're also really worthwhile to see. Now, after the Institute sessions, we will have guided tours. The guided tours will start, there will be 2 half-hour guided tours through the different facilities. And if you want to join those, you will have to be behind me. So there will be tours starting over there at 4:45 and 5:15. So I hope that you will enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Make sure that you explore the building and enjoy. Thank you for coming.